Let's embrace innovative volunteerism.
Reimagination is what each and every one of us must do. Today, we're going to hear more on this. First, please click and subscribe so that any idea that comes up, you will be the first to receive it. Click notifications so that at least you are the first to receive. I'll be right back.
Solutions to these challenges, oh yeah. Innovative and volunteerism, food security and youth unemployment, climate actions and selfless solutions. These are things that we need to engage for. When I lift up my eyes and see people still living in affliction.
Albert Einstein once said that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, that fish will live all his life believing that it is stupid. What does this mean? Sometimes we ascribe to narratives that disempower us. We ascribe to things that make us think that we are not able to do anything, and so we live all our life believing that we cannot be able to turn challenges into opportunity, to solve the challenges we face every day. Challenges of food insecurity, challenges of energy poverty, challenges of youth unemployment. But I'm here today to debunk that. We've been told that we cannot do so many things and we tend to believe, but that's not true. What we need to do is to develop value. Each and every one of us have the ability to be able to develop value. And to develop value means we need to be useful, because usefulness is the purpose of why we live. The purpose of life is to be useful. And when you are to be useful, then you must be able to do two things: produce a product and a service. Product and services are what we must be able to do. To produce a product, you must develop value. We must develop value. How do you develop value? You must be able to be part of a process. Part of a process means you need to dedicate time, no gain, no pain. Time to learn a skill, to develop your passion. If you are a photographer, you perfect the skill so much so that at least where the photos you take and the videos you take, people will be rushing to you and saying, wow, how did you do this? You are solving a problem. You have developed value and people will be attracted to you. You are offering a service. That is very, very important. And so we must reimagine the challenges we face in the African continent and the world under the changing climate. We must reimagine three things: our food systems. The discussion on food security in the continent today focuses on production. That's a false narrative. Yes, production is important, but I've argued that we cannot only be producing without thinking after producing what happens. We must be able to think beyond just production, because in a continent today, we lose food over $48 billion US. So if we are not producing, how will you be losing over $48 billion US? Paradoxically, this narrative is skewed. And so I'm here to say we must reimagine our food systems and bring in two words: value addition. Africa produces and exports raw materials. They are exporting employment and importing unemployment. Spending $35 billion US a year to import food that could have been produced in the continent, to import food that value could have been added in the continent. This depreciates foreign reserves and contribute to the inflation that we face today. It therefore means we must reimagine our food system and add value to what we produce, but add value in a way that doesn't add to the emissions that cause climate change in the world. It therefore means we must be able to inspire our youth, to guide our youth to retool their skills, to develop simple climate action solutions like solar dryers, so that our mothers can dry their vegetables, their mushrooms, their beans, their rice when they produce it, so that they can have a life cycle that is longer for them to sell it and put more money in more pockets. In the course of doing that, we'll be creating and inspiring youth climatepreneurship, and they'll be putting more money in their pockets as they produce the products and the services that are needed in communities. We must reimagine the second aspect, our energy systems. We're speaking today with 620 million Africans who are energy impoverished, but they live in rural areas. We must reimagine that grid electricity is not going to be the solution of the problems in the 21st century. Off-grid and clean energy, renewable energy that can easily be decentralized to these communities, will be the opportunity to turbocharge and supercharge communities to become empowered and also start to use that clean energy, solar energy, to add value to what they produce. That way they'll be putting money in their pockets and everybody will have access to opportunity. The third is, we cannot be able to discuss any issue in this continent forgetting the over 80% of the continent's informal sector that create 80% of jobs in the continent. They are what I call the economic locomotive of Africa, but they are forgotten sometimes and not discussed or discussed in the peripheries. Today, the informal sector cannot be forgotten, and those who are able to provide the services and the inputs they need are the young people. A mother in a village choking under indoor pollution because she uses charcoal. She's committed no crime, but she uses charcoal because that's the only alternative she has. Can you be able, as a young person, develop a skill to turn agricultural waste into fuel briquettes so they can replace charcoal cheaper than charcoal, but 4 times more effective than charcoal, saves a mother's life and help you put more money in your pocket? Can you be able to learn a skill that develops a solar dryer that helps that mother dry her vegetables, her corn, her beans, so that at least it doesn't get wasted? And in the course of doing that, you put money in your pocket and the mother sells her food and put more money in the pocket. Can we be able to reimagine finance, which today is still discussed from the mainstream narrative, which is a false narrative because over 80% of the continent do not have access to bank accounts. Yes, there is mobile money, but we need to start thinking, how do we tap into the 300 billion gap that exists in the informal sector? They know and have structures that are accessible to them. These structures are called cooperatives. They have different names across the continent. Chamas in East Africa, Njangi in West Africa, or Tongtins in the western part of Cameroon. Can we tap into this and use this as conduit to deliver solutions, especially financial solutions, through these conduits that are accessible to the people, and have that social fabric within them that they have cultivated and own this, so that at least opportunities, especially financial opportunities, can be accessible to these people? And the last, we must reimagine policy. Policy incentives are important, but they must be tailored to the realities of our time. Governments must be able to leverage the little they have to incentivize the private sector to be able to lend to this informal sector. Let's just take a very simple example. Across the continent, we are seeing governments putting fiscal incentives, like removing value-added taxes on clean energy solutions like briquettes and burgers. Kenya showed this example in her fiscal financial bill 2021. Removing value-added tax on briquettes and on burgers means that youth who are engaged in these activities will not be able to pay taxes. That's an incentive. But I want to take this further, that governments across the continent should do what I call de-risking the financial systems. What does this mean? If a government can put $1 billion US as a de-risking instrument, and then indicates that the cooperatives that are lending to young people to develop solutions that are climate action solutions, that they're going to take these loans at low interest rate or zero interest rate, and look at the cooperatives that are viable and can be able to support youth, and develop these risk-sharing facilities with these cooperatives, so that at least they can give them 1 billion and say, if you loan 1 billion to young people in actions that are climate actions and input, if they default, this will cover. But in most cases, they're not going to default because they will be acting in areas in which they are already having expertise. That way, you will ensure that the bulk of the population have access to finance, leveraging this through cooperatives, microfinance institutions, and these young people will be able to create jobs for other youth, and that's how enterprising Africa under the changing climate will be created. This is common sense, and it's easy to do. We are doing this in Uganda, working through the Buganda Kingdom, with the cooperatives called CBS Pewosa. They are putting in place credit facilities for young people to tap into. And those young people are guided through our work to be able to develop climate action solutions of solar dryers, of briquettes, so that at least communities can be able to access. This is common sense. So we must reimagine financial sectors. And the last is, the informal sector must be turbocharged and supercharged to move from the bottom to the top. But we need what is called a ladder. To transition the informal sector from the bottom to the top, that ladder builds on what I've said. Reimagining financial sector by developing de-risking tools. Reimagining agricultural systems by ensuring value addition becomes the norm, but value addition that is using climate action solutions so the emissions are not added, but so people can actually be able to develop this solution, especially our youth. Reimagining our energy systems, using clean energy solutions to power agricultural production. This way, we will transition the informal sector from the bottom to the top. They will be contributing to the tax brackets and the whole economy will be jump-started. What I've discussed today is reimagination, but reimagination that can drive purposeful, transformational Africa, productive economies. Because Africa needs productive economic transformational development. Because productive economy, not distributive economics. Distributive economy means a few people will benefit, but productive economy means everybody will benefit. Let me give a very practical example as I end. It's not where you come from that matters. I'm Cameroonian. You're watching, you Kenyan, you Nigerian, you Zambian, you Togolese, you South African, you Egyptian, you Benin, you from Senegalese. It doesn't matter. In productive economy, everybody can rise regardless of where you are, contributing to the collective development of all. That is the only way that we'll be able to bring everybody at par. Socio-economic transformation. When everybody is at par, tribe, country will not matter, because prosperity and good for all is what can bring unity of purpose for the collective benefit of all across Africa. Anything less than this is lip service. But our reimagination of how the future can be under the changing climate will mean we can avert shocks, we can avert emergency, and all of us will become resilient as well as powerful reimagining population for the world.